You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Deku and Hero Academia Joins Super Sentai. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of GokuMuto on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Roger that. Nick said following him. Toshinori and Midoriya ran through the city as fast as they could, even though he had reached his time limit on using his quirk and Midoriya helping him as best he could. The two of them arrived to see the wreckage of the villain attack. This is bad. Midoriya watched the scene in horror. How could I let this? Toshinori said to himself in shame. Toshinori. A voice was heard getting the green hair boy and number 1 hero's attention. They saw Eren holding Eri in his arms and Nick running up to them. Young Amamiya. What are you doing here? Toshinori asked in surprise. We heard the explosion and decided to check it out, Nick explained to him. Speaking of which, why are you here in your weakened sight? Ren asked before he noticed Midoriya next to him. And who is this? Oh, my name is izukumidoriya and Midoriya was about to explain until another explosion went off getting their attention as they looked at the scene before them. Flames licked at posts, bringing them down with thuds as panicked people ran from the chaos. The heroes rushed to the scene, soon realizing that there was someone encased in the monster's goop. And others pros thrown into the mix, trying their best to resolve the situation at hand. They've taken someone hostage. Death Arms exclaimed, his fists colliding. The man rushed towards the villain, punching the sludge villain. How dare you prey on a child? The villain simply laughed as the man's hand sunk into his body. Death Arms was moved into the door of a garage, groaning as he fell. You okay, Death Arms? A hero asked, running towards the sludge villain. Ha! Stay back or I'll snap his neck. The villain threatened the hero to stop. Bakugou was struggling to free himself from the villain's grasp, screaming as he stretched the sludge. You picked the wrong guy to mess with. I'm gonna send you back to whatever sewer you crawled out of. His palms forced out explosions as he fought back, spreading the fire. Let me go. The wind rushed from the explosions, pushing the heroes backward. You have so much power. The sludge villain laughed. I really hit the jackpot. With a quirk like yours under my control, I could take All Might down with one punch. He began forcing his tentacles into the air, sending them into a spiraling motion. That doesn't look good. Ren said to himself, watching the whole thing unfold. Eri, who was scared, held on to Ren harder as she was terrified. This isn't good. Nick thought in worry. The other heroes are struggling to get that kid free. And he's just wildly using his power, making things worse. Watching the horrible scene. Toshinori gasped, remembering his encounter with Midoriya. I must have dropped him in the air. I got distracted, worrying about my time limit. He clutched his chest, gripping a pole with the opposite hand. What a rookie mistake. And after lecturing that kid about what it takes to be a hero. I'm pathetic. He thought, feeling disappointed in himself. Meanwhile, Midoriya suddenly gasped, eyes widening as he noticed the villain. It's the guy who attacked me. That can't be right. How did he? His breath hitched as he thought back. But the bottle. If All Might drop it. That means. It's my fault. I caused this. He realized. Citizens began to comment on the action, panic rising among them. What was that? Some kind of special move? A person said. Dude is a legit supervillain. Another person said to them. Then smiles lit up as gasps came from the crowd. It's her. The hero Mount Lady will stop him. A civilian yelled as a giant woman rushed forward to the scene to stop the villain. Mount Lady's eyes widened as she stumbled backward. My only weakness. She gasped in realization. I need at least a 2-lane road if I'm gonna make my way through here. Fire and wood don't exactly make a good combination. I'll let someone else stop this guy. Kamui Wood said, wrapping up civilians in his limbs, rescuing them from the scene. Don't look at me. Backdraft called out, hosing down the fire. I've got my hands full here. He glanced from left to right, speaking to the heroes. Where are those fire trucks? Can you guys get to him? I can't get a grip on his weird body. Death Arms replied. Plus, that kid's quirk is causing explosions left and right. This is a shutout. We gotta rally and knock him out of the park somehow. Shouted a nearby hero. Bakugou continued to struggle as the sludge villain laughed maniacally, almost completely enveloping the boy. He then launched an attack on the heroes, forcing them to move backward. It's no good. None of us have the right quirks for stuff like this. Death Arms shouted, exasperated. The other hero nodded. We'll do damage control until someone with the right quirk shows up. He shouted. There are still plenty of people to save. Backdraft commented, continuing to deal with the rising flames. Kamui raised more citizens out of the blaze. Don't worry, I bet all the heroes in the city are coming. He hoped someone would show up. They can't be serious. They are right here, they have to do something about this. Not waiting for someone to show up. Ren thought. What are the heroes doing? They're not doing anything. Nick thought. They're just waiting for someone to show up and fix this problem. If they don't hurry, things will only get worse. I'm sorry, kid. Death Arms shaking his fists in frustration. You'll just have to hang on a little bit longer. He grunted. If I only had more power I could blow this guy away. Civilians shouted towards the heroes, encouraging them to fight back. A man turned to a person next to him. Why aren't the heroes doing anything? He asked. It looks like they've met their match. Plus, it looks like the villain captured a kid. Another man replied. Things aren't looking good for the heroes. After hearing their conversation, Midoriya's neck snapped back to the fight, noticing blonde tufts of hair peeking from the sludge. He captured someone. I wonder how long they've been in there. How can they survive being suffocated like that? He thought back to his own encounter with the villain. I thought I'd die after only a few seconds of struggling. Then confusion began to rise amongst the crowd. Wait, I'm confused. Isn't that the villain All Might was chasing after earlier? What? All Might? No way, he lost. Where is he? Seriously. Why hasn't he shown up to help the heroes? Are they seriously hoping for one person to resolve this problem? Nick was dumbstruck. He knew that All Might was a well-liked hero and everyone had faith in him, almost like some kind of god. All Might isn't the only hero they should rely on. And chances are he might not show up. He thought. Forget All Might for a moment and worry about the heroes that are already here. Ren thought in frustration. All Might be the #1 hero, but is just one man and can't be everywhere, solving everyone's problems. Damn it. Why aren't they doing anything? Ren thought in frustration at the hero's actions of holding Eri closer to make her feel safe. As Ren was in thought, a light shined on Midoriya and All Might, regret and blame clouding their minds. Bakugou's eyes widened, fear plaguing his visible features. Upon seeing that, Midoriya broke free from his thoughts, his notebook falling to the ground as he took off. He weaved through the crowd as everyone watched. This caused Ren, Nick, Toshinori, Eri, and the pro-heroes to gasp in surprise, as their eyes widened as they saw the boy in action. "No, you idiot. Stop. You're gonna get yourself killed." Death Arms shouted, reaching out his hand. Midoriya just tuned them out, picking up speed. Rushing at the villain. Ugh. This brat again. The sludge villain. Deku. Bakugou tiredly whispered, watching him coming closer. "Just what is that guy doing?" Ren said in surprise, looking at Midoriya rushing at the sludge villain. Toshinori just observed the green-haired boy in shock and wondered what could have possessed him to run into the middle of danger like that. "What am I doing? Why am I running? Why can't I stop?" Midoriya thought, rushing towards the creature. As the villain reached out his muddy hand, Midoriya panicked. "What do I do? What would a hero do right now?" He quickly thought of his hero notebook, mentally opening up to a page. Page 25. Right. He came up with a plan. "Take this." The boy spun, hurling his backpack at the grotesque villain's eye, causing him to flinch. The sludge villain then released Bakugou for a moment, allowing him to take a gulp of air. "Kachin!" Midoriya shouted, grasping at the sludge villain's body. "What? Why are you here?" Bakugou yelled at the boy. "I don't know. My legs. They just started moving." Midoriya shouted frantically, still attempting to release the blonde. "Kachin!" Midoriya cried. "I couldn't just stand there and watch you die." Toshinori, Ren, and Nick gasped, staring wide-eyed at the boy upon hearing his reason. "This kid," Toshinori thought in surprise. "He jumped into the middle of danger just because he didn't want him to die." Ren thought in amazement, thinking about how heroic this green-haired kid was. Could he be the one? Nick thought in shock, that this kid was interesting. "This kid is unbelievable. That sounds like something a Sentai would do. Jumping into danger regardless of the consequences and doing everything in their power to help others. Just a little bit longer, kid." The villain addressed Bakugou, switching to Midoriya as he aimed an attack. "And I'm done with you." Toshinori's muscles began to expand, steam rising from his skin. "I have to do something," he grunted. "No matter the cost." Before he could finish his transformation, Ren placed his hand in front of the hero to stop his change. "Young Amamiya," Toshinori said in surprise. "Toshinori, let me be the one to do this," Ren said, surprising him as he put Eri down. But if you change in front of everyone Toshinori said before Ren cut him off again. "I know and I'm willing to face the consequences of it, but now is not the time for waiting," Ren said to him before looking at Nick. "Nick, did you bring the briefcase with you?" "Yes. They're right here," Nick said, pulling out the black briefcase with the morphers in it. "Good, 'cause have one ready just in case," Ren said to him. "If I'm right about this, then we may have found our second buster." Nick nodded to him as Eri pulled on his pants leg to get his attention. "Are you going to save that person?" Eri asked her brother. "I am, and I'll look cool doing it, just like you want," Ren said to her before rubbing her head. Eri's face lit up, and she couldn't wait to see Ren in action. Toshinori wanted to protest but decided to leave this one to Ren since he had already reached his time limit. The heroes lunged towards Midoriya, panicked. "Save the boy!" Death Arms ordered. "This thing will kill him." Ren then moved his body in a green/red blur, as he made his way to reach Midoriya. The sludge villain raised his fist in the air to strike down the quirkless boy. Midoriya fell to the ground and saw an incoming arm, bracing for an attack that never came. But Ren grabbed Midoriya and pulled him away from the villain's attack, at an incredible speed that no one reacted to or saw. "What the?" the villain said in confusion as his fist was on the ground. "Where the hell did he go?" He wasn't the only one, as the heroes and civilians were wondering the exact same thing as the villain. Where did that green-haired kid go? Death Arm asks in confusion. Did someone save him in time? Kamui Woods asked. Or maybe he moved out on the way in time. Backdraft suggested. Hey look. Mount Lady pointed, drawing everyone's attention to where she pointed. They saw Ren holding Midoriya by his arms tightly as he was lying on the ground. Who's that kid? Mount Lady said in surprise. He just saved that green-haired kid. Death Arm said looking at him. But how? I didn't even see it happen. Kamui Woods said in confusion. Oh, great. Not another brat to deal with. The sludge villain said in annoyance. Midoriya then opened his eyes looking at Ren with both surprise and confusion on his face, not knowing what just happened to him. Not bad kid. Toshinori thought as he was impressed that Ren was able to save Midoriya in time. Aye it's you. Midoriya said in disbelief. Hold that thought for a moment. Ren said getting up, as he tapped the transpod. Transport. A voice from the transpod announced. The Ishigan Buster digitally materialized in Ren's hands, as he pointed it at the sludge villain before firing a blast straight at the villain's right eye. Ag. The sludge villain howled out in pain as he was trashing around. My eye. You shot my god DMNI. That should give us some time, Ren said, turning his attention back to a stunned Midoriya, as Ren helped him back on his feet. Thank. Midoriya said, still stunned. So you chose to help that kid out even though the other heroes were doing nothing. Even though you're quirkless too. So let me ask you something important and give me your honest answer. Why did you rush in to save that guy? Ren asked him in a serious tone. Midoriya looked at him and he saw something that made him grin. The fire of a hero, but most importantly the will of a Super Sentai. Because I want to save everyone even if they don't thank me, then that's fine knowing that I did something good to help them out no matter how big or small it is. As long as I can save everyone with a smile on my face even if I don't have a quirk, then I'll do it. Midoriya said before he saw Ren smile with a grin on his face. Good answer, Ren said as he was glad Midoriya passed his test. Nick, get over here. Ren shouted out loud, which confused everyone there. I'm coming, Ren. Nick said as he was passing past the crowd of people. Excuse me. Coming through. The Buddy Roid finally made it out of the crowd of people and ran towards Ren and Midoriya, which surprised everyone as they see the robot. Hey, wait. It's not safe. Backdraft warned the robot, as he ignored him and ran past all the heroes to finally reach Ren and Midoriya. Ren. I'm here. Nick said, holding up the briefcase in front of Ren. Thank partner, Ren said as he opened the briefcase and grabbed one of the morphin brace inside before facing Midoriya. Well, if what you said to me is true, then take this. It's time to become something more than a hero. He said, leaving a crowd of civilians and the other heroes stunned at what he was saying. Midoriya looked at the morphin brace before grabbing it and wrapping it on his left wrist. He then felt a surge of power rising inside of himself as the morpher was bonding with his DNA, giving him new powers. What just happened to me? Midoriya asked, looking at his morphing brace in awe. You learned so enough. Just follow my lead, okay? Ren said to the boy. Right. Midoriya said with a determined look. Then the two boys started walking side by side towards the sludge villain without fear as a cameraman from the news was filming everything live for all of Japan to see. Best of luck you two, Nick said before closing the briefcase and running back to the crowd of people. Just who are you and that boy? Kamui Woods demanded. Don't worry, Ren's got this, Nick said to the heroes. And he's going to have some help. What are you even talking about? Death Arms asked. Just watch and you'll see. Nick said to them. The sludge villain recovered from his pain as he was glaring daggers of rage at Ren. You DMN brat. You'll pay for shooting my eye. The sludge villain yelled in anger with his eyes closed. Attention villain, feel free to resist if you want. Ren sarcastically said to the villain with a cocky grin. We'll be kicking your butt either way, Midoriya stated as well with his own grin. This had only infuriated the villain even more as he blew a fuse. You DMN brats. Just who the hell do you punks think you are massing with? The sludge villain yelled out. Ren and Midoriya just briefly looked at each other with a grin before holding up their left arms and moving their right hands to their left arm to twist the dial on their morphin braces, causing a pair of yellow shades to open up with a mini hologram of their buster suits appearing. It's morphin time. A voice from the morphin braces announced. Then cylinder of green digital energy was formed around both of their feet as it was traveling up their bodies to form their suits. The green digital energy fully formed their outfits and helmets, but the visors were empty and could see both their eyes. The two boys then moved their left arms close to their faces and then pressed a button on the tip of their morphin braces. Let's morphin. Ren and Midoriya invoked as the yellow shades on their morphin braces glow green before shooting onto their helmets as the digital energy transforms the shades into visors to complete their morph. Red Buster. Ren shouted. Blue Buster. Midoriya shouted. He was wearing a blue leather jacket and black pants. The jacket had a silver line going across the hips and arms. The outfit also sported black straps with a communication device GB on it attached to the left side. The blue helmet had a silver mouthpiece and a blue visor. The top of the helmet was shaped like a gorilla. However, the eyes were headlights. Izukumidoriya was now the blue buster of the Takumiai Sentai Gobusters. Musudafu, public bar, afternoon. And so, he's sitting there, one hand on the kid, the other on the support beam, and this guy just has me dead to rights, right? But instead of finishing the job, what's he do? A rabbit woman said with a grin on her face as she held a mug of beer in her hands. She has an athletic build with muscular arms and legs and stands slightly below average height. She has dark skin, red eyes that are tilted slightly inwards, long eyelashes, and straight white hair that used to reach down past her waist, but she was later cut short. On her head, she has a pair of long white rabbit ears pointing upwards with a slight crook. Along with these, she also has a white round tail, which gives her overall design a definite resemblance to an albino rabbit. Her hero costume consists of a sleeveless white leotard with dark purple trim around her shoulders and waist, a wide, yellow crescent moon design over her chest, and a single thick metal plate wrapped around her midriff. She wears purple thigh-high boots to complement her leotard, with more plating around the heel and toe areas, making her feet look like those of a rabbit. She also has a pair of thick white gloves on her hands with long cuffs, sporting small triangular protrusions around their edges. Her name was Rumi Usajiyama, also known as Rabbit Hero, Miruko. He starts monologuing. A man dressed like a tiger asks with a raised brow. He is a tall, muscular man with short brown hair and a small triangle-shaped beard. He has blank white eyes with black markings surrounding them. Tiger wears a brown version of the Pussycat's hero costume. His name is Yawara Chatora, also known as Tiger. This bee starts monologuing. Telling me all about he's going to be the one to have toppled the number 5 hero, and how he's going to be famous, and that I'm going to be nothing but a failure and all that cliché garbage, like he's not talking to the baddest bee in the country. Miruko said to her in slight irritation. So, what did you do? A green-haired woman asked. She is a young woman of medium height with long, emerald green hair and big round yellow eyes that are almost always open all the way, with 3 small eyelashes located toward the top of each eye. As a part of her costume, she draws pink marks on her cheeks that resemble whiskers and a pink circle around her right eye. She sports a yellow version of the Pussycat's hero costume. Her name was Tomoko Shiratoko, also known as Ragdoll. Kicked him out the window, grabbed the kid, and bolted. The dude fell like 3 stories and broke his hip. It was hilarious. Miruko shouted before letting out a loud laugh as she finished off the dregs of her drink. It had been a hellacious week, and this was the first real downtime that she'd had in months. She was using her new downtime to catch up with a group of old friends, the feline hero group known as the Wild Wool Pussycats. The group had taken the lone rabbit under their wing when she first made her pro debut. Having not attended a well-known hero academy, nor had she been a member of any known agency besides her own, they had mentored her. Only because Rumi's independent streak was as infamous as her battle prowess. That, and she was rather outspoken in her beliefs that those who were part of hero teams, like the Pussycats, were cowards and not self-assured enough to make a name for themselves on their own. In spite of that, the Fursum had somehow wormed their way into her life enough that she could call them friends. And that, ladies and Tiger Man, is why Miruko was about to say until. You don't need a team to be a badass. Her compatriots at the table said in unison. A calloused hand patted her shoulder in what could have been a comforting gesture, but mostly just came across as exasperated. We know Han Mandalay, better known as Shino Sosaki, said with a good-natured roll of her eyes. She wears a red version of the Pussycats' hero costumes, and as part of her costume, she draws red markings beneath her eyes, which resemble cat whiskers. Miruko just sat her glass down on the table and crossed her arms, annoyed. Y'all are a bunch of buzzkills, you know that? She said to her friend. Tiger, the lone man at the table, simply chuckled, before excusing himself to grab another round from the bar. You know, a blonde hair out her face said, brushing a strand of hair out her face, and Miruko let out a groan as she knew where this was going. It's exactly that kind of attitude which is why you're still single. It was a good-natured tease, but Rumi wasn't one to let anything slip by. Her. She is a woman with blue eyes, and long blonde hair that's mostly combed back save for her bangs. She is wearing a light blue version of the Pussycats' hero costume. She draws 2 blue dots on her cheeks whenever she wears it. Her costume also includes a tinted visor that she uses with her quirk. Her name is Ryuko Tsuchikawa, also known as Pixie Bob. Oh yeah? Miruko said with a raise of her brow. Then what the hell is your excuse? The blonde spluttered in indignation and made to lunge over the table at her, only to be grabbed by the scruff of her neck and dragged back into her chair by Ragdoll. Pixie Bob rounded on the woman and tried to argue with her. Miruko sat back and watched the byplay, a smug and self-satisfied smile on her face, even as Mandalay sighed, and ran an exasperated hand over her face. Why do you have to instigate her? She's going to be hot all night now. Mandalay asked. Miruko shrugged to her, don't start what you can't finish. She said. Besides, Ragdoll said, still holding an irate Pixie Bob at arm's length. She already has a boy toy. That little ragamuffin you've been chasing all over town for the last few weeks. Miruko growled as she glared at the woman. For someone who looked to be as innocent and pure as a newborn fawn, the green-haired member of the Pussycats could be snarky when she wanted to be. Don't even get me started on that obnoxious little Miruko growled out. Oh wow, you got it bad, don't you bun? Pixie Bob teased, distracted from her rage by a new opportunity to tease her friend. Can't say I blame you though. She shrugged innocently before her grin turned predatory. That Gobuster looks like the perfect mate to have kittens. It was only Mandalay's firm grip on her arm that kept the woman from lunging over the table herself. The women were referring to the new vigilante, that has been beating the ever-loving PSS out of villains and helping civilians for the last 2 weeks. He had just shown up one day, stopped the villain Muscular after he attacked a supermarket full of people, and saved the water hose heroes. He had quickly made a name for himself as he systematically began taking down villains and helping the innocent, before disappearing with his speed or on his motorcycle. He was also an enormous pain in Miruko's butt. She had first encountered the Sentai annoyance 4 days after his debut. She had been trying to answer a potential house fire in the lower districts. However, by the time she had gotten there, not only had the fire been put out, but the BSTRD had even gotten all of the victims out of the building. He had been talking to one of the victims when she recognized him. His picture had been sent out to all of the pro agencies as a priority target, as his quirk seemed powerful and versatile. She had been drawn into an hour-long fight/chase around the city, where he had taunted and humiliated her, before just disappearing in a burst of speed. Over the week and a half that followed, she had run into the annoying prick 7 more times by chance, and each and every time he slipped through her fingers. God, people with speed quirks are a pain in the butt to deal with. The only blessing was that she was not the only pro-hero who had been embarrassed by that kid. Hell, even Endeavor, the number 2 hero behind All Might, had been led on a goose chase before getting blasted in the butt by the kid's laser gun. For that alone, Miruko decided that the guy couldn't be all bad. She even had the video saved on her phone. That little SHT is nothing more than a distraction. Miruko bit out in annoyance. Besides, he hasn't been seen in 2 days, so who knows, maybe karma caught up to him. Mandalay only sighed at this, as she didn't feel the same way as her rabbit friend did. Unlike most heroes who only see the Red Buster as a punk kid looking to get attention for himself, she didn't see it like that. To her, the Red Buster was her family's savior, as he risked his own life to save her cousin's and husband's life. Even Koda became a huge fan of his, as she would always hear him talk about the Sentai. She was hoping to meet the Red Buster one of those days and think of him personally for saving her family. But then her thought was cut short after hearing someone from the bar TV shout, "You DMN brat! You'll pay for shooting my eye." An angry voice shouted, which made everyone in the bar go silent and turn their heads to the screen, as they saw a villain with a sludge-like quirk with one of his eyes closed, as he had a blonde-haired child trapped inside of him. Then everyone in the bar noticed that 2 boys, one with black spiky hair and the other with fluffy dark green hair, were standing a few feet away from the villain, as pro-heroes and civilians watched the whole thing in the background. Looking over to the barman, Mandalay shouted over the din of the bar, "Niji, turn up the volume, I want to hear this." She asked him. Niji, an older man with a cybertronic eye, just raised a hand at the television, and the volume increased. "Attention villain, feel free to resist if you want," the spiky black-haired sarcastically said to the villain with a cocky grin on his face. "We'll be kicking your butt either way," the fluffy dark green-haired stated as well with his own grin. "No way. Are they planning on fighting that villain?" Mandalay asked in shock. "It looks like it, but that's bad. They should just leave it to the pros," Pixie Bob said with a frown on her face. "Kids these days sure do the craziest thing," Ragdoll commented. "Those 2 got guts, I'll give them that," Miruko said with a grin. "That's nothing to compliment, Miruko," Mandalay said back in a serious tone. I know. Jesus," Miruko said, rolling her eyes. Then, hearing the villain shouting again in rage, got their attention back to the screen. "You DMN brats! Just who the hell do you punks think you are massing with?" the villain yelled out. Then the next thing the 2 boys did surprised everyone in the bar, along with everyone in Japan watching this. They saw the 2 boys briefly look at each other with grins across their faces before holding up their left arms with a device attached to them. "Wait. Why does that look familiar?" Miruko asked herself as she was watching the scene. Then they moved their right hands to their left arm to twist the dial on their devices, causing a pair of yellow shades to open up with a mini hologram of suits appearing on each of their devices. "It's morphin' time," a voice from their devices said. Then a ring of green digital energy was formed around both of their feet as it traveled up their bodies to form some suits. The green digital energy fully formed both their outfits and helmets, but the visors were empty and they could see both their eyes. The 2 boys then moved their left arms close to their faces and then pressed a button on the tip of their devices before speaking. "Let's morphin'," the 2 boys cried out as the yellow shades on their devices glowed green before shooting onto their helmets as the shades transformed into visors that matched their outfits. "Red Buster. The spiky black-haired shouted as he revealed to everyone that he was the Super Sentai Vigilante. Blue Buster. The fluffy dark green-haired shouted as he wore an outfit similar to the Red Busters, but the color and design were slightly different. No way. Ragdoll said in pure shock. That's the... Pixie Bob said with her own shocked expression. Red Buster. Mandalay finished with widened eyes. It wasn't just them, everyone in the bar had the same shocked expression on their faces, as this kid was the vigilante that everyone was talking about. But now he had a partner with him with a suit similar to him, and he called himself the Blue Buster. The one who was the most surprised out of everyone in the bar was the rabbit-themed hero. Rumi's mouth was hanging loosely in utter bewilderment, as the patrons in the bar, who had witnessed the identity reveal with rapt attention, exploded into discussion over the revelations. Tiger finally returned with the new round of drinks, as he was also shocked by what he saw, and Rumi had a glass pushed into her hand. Though she was still staring blankly at the screen, as the Red Buster and this new Gobusters called Blue Buster was about to throw down with the villain. Finally finding the strength to regain her senses, she could only say the first thing that came to her mind. What the F is going on? Miruko shouted in confusion. Musudafu Street's Tetouan shopping district, afternoon. Back in the alleyway, the pro-heroes and the crowd just stared at the two boys with their jaws dropped and a look of disbelief on their faces, as they now know the identity of the Red Buster. That kid, he's the Red Buster. Backdraft yelled out as he broke the silence. You got to be freaking kidding me. Death Arms said in disbelief. He's the vigilante everyone's so worked up about. Mount Lady said with eyes widened as she was still giant. And that other boy is wearing a costume similar to the vigilantes. Kamui Wood said too. All right. Now there are two Gobusters. Nick cheered out loud as he was hopping up and down in joy. Wow. So cool. Eri said her eyes were sparkling with excitement as she was looking at Ren and Midoriya. Incredible. Young Midoriya is a Gobuster now. Toshinori thought in amazement. No way. What the hell happened to Deku? Bakugou thought in pure shock as he was looking at the nerd in a blue suit. You. The sludge villain exclaimed in shock. You're the Red Buster. You're that Super Sentai Vigilante. The Red Buster. Midoriya looked at Ren in shock as he didn't expect him to be the new vigilante. Indeed, I am, Ren said glancing his way. And you're also a Gobuster too. The Blue Buster. He said, making the boy look at him in amazement. I'm the Blue Buster. Midoriya said, looking at himself as he could feel his new power. This power is incredible. With this, I can finally be a hero. He thought before clenching his hand in a fist and had a smile on his face behind his helmet. Now let's get your friend back, Ren said, getting a nod from him. Midoriya then looked at the villain as was slightly terrified on the inside but knew he had to be brave enough to be a hero. Final chance villain, let him go. Midoriya said with a strong and even tone. You think a costume change is gonna frighten me? Think again. Now die. The sludge villain said, sending two sludge arms towards them. Go. Ren said as both he and Midoriya dodged to both of their sides to avoid the attack while rolling on the ground before standing on one knee. Tap the transpod on your shoulder to summon a weapon. He told him before tapping his transport. Transport. A voice from Ren's transpod announced as the Sogon blade digitally materialized in front of him in midair. Ren grabbed the blade and cut up all the tentacles coming his way. Right. Midoriya nodded in response before quickly tapping his transpod. Transport. A voice from Midoriya's transpod announces that a Sogon blade digitally materializes in front of Midoriya in midair before he quickly grabs it. Take this. Midoriya said, rushing at the villain while slashing up tentacles. DMNU. The sludge villain said while sending more tentacles forming hands at the Blue Buster. Midoriya then started to cut through everyone single hand by agility, moving his body around until the last grabbed him by his left arm. "I got you now, brat," the sludge villain said with a grin. "Get off me." Blue Buster shouted as his left arm muscles glowed slightly green before fading. He then pulled his arm back, which tears off the sludge hand around his arm without difficulty, causing the villain to howl in pain. "Ack! You stupid brat. That hurt," the sludge villain said, launching 4 tentacles arms at Midoriya. But the red Buster used his speed to zoom around and slash them up before reaching the blue Buster and stopping right next to his partner. "Wow, how'd I do that?" Midoriya asked as he wasn't able to pull himself free from the villain before. "It's your Buster power. It gives you superhuman strength," Ren informed him. "Whoa, I'm just like All Might then," Midoriya happily said. "Yeah, but be impressed later. We still have a villain to bust," Ren said to him. "Okay," Midoriya replied before the two ran towards the villain. "Just stay still so I can kill you both," the sludge villain said in frustration as he used his hand combined with Bakugou's quirk to fire an explosion at the two busters. But Ren ducked on the ground and Midoriya jumped in the air at the same time to avoid the blast. Before the sludge villain could do anything else, Ren slashed his Sogon blade upwards to cut off the villain's arm, making him cry, but the villain didn't have time for even that as Midoriya fell back to the ground, punching it with his super strength, causing a mini earthquake that destroys the surface of the floor in the alley, making everyone in the area trying to keep their balance, and making the sludge villain fly a few feet off the ground in surprise. What? The sludge villain cried out in confusion as he was hovering in the air. Bakugou shouted in surprise too. "Now's my chance," Ren shouted before dashing off in a burst of speed, then started to circle the villain, making afterimages. As he ran, the red Buster was creating a vortex with his super speed that trapped the sludge villain as he was spinning around rapidly. This made the sludge villain dizzy and loosened up his grip on Bakugou. "Midoriya, save the hostage," Ren said while still running in a circle. Midoriya nodded in response and ran up to the vortex, feeling the powerful gust of wind Ren was creating before jumping up in the air at the villain. He took his free hand to grab Bakugou's uniform jacket and pulled him out of the sludge villain's body with all of his might. Midoriya falls back on the ground with Bakugou right next to him on the floor before releasing his jacket. When the hostage was free, Ren stopped circling the villain and moved next to Midoriya as the man-made vortex quickly disappeared with the sludge villain fell on the ground feeling sick to his stomach. "They saved the hostage," Kamui Woods said in surprise. "Yeah, go Red and Blue Buster." Eri cheered them on. "Their timing is impressive. Not to mention how flawless they seem to be working together even though young Midoriya just became a Sentai." Toshinori thought in awe. "Kaken, you okay?" Midoriya asked in concern. "Deku. Yo dash. Peak dash. Of. Sure dash." Bakugou wanted to argue but was coughing up sludge. Midoriya didn't understand what he was saying but could tell what he wanted to say to him with all the years he knew Bakugou. "Looks like he's all ready," Midoriya thought in relief before turning back to the villain. "Now that he doesn't have a human shield protecting him, we can finish this," Red Buster said as Blue Buster stood next to him. "Yeah, time for some payback," Blue Buster said before the two Gobusters tapped onto their transpods in sync. "Transport." A voice from both the transpods announced. Then two Ishigan Busters digitally materialize in front of them, as the Busters grabbed the blasters with their right hands. They pointed their Ishigan Busters forward at the villain who was still too dizzy to move. "It's time for Buster," a voice from the Ishigan Busters announced. As the visors of both Busters digitally glow green briefly, while they twist the barrel of their blasters with a cylinder of green digital energy circling the tip of the Ishigan Busters, charging up energy for a powerful shot. The sludge villain watches in horror as he knows what is coming next. Please mercy. The sludge villain begged. You didn't show any mercy to that kid you held hostage earlier, Ren said in a serious tone. Nor to me, when you tried to take over my body, Midoriya said in a pissed tone. So don't expect us to show the same to you. They both shouted together in sync before pulling the trigger on their blasters. Then two large powerful laser blasts flow straight at the sludge villain, hitting him square on, causing him to scream out in pain as electricity was discharging from all over his body before he exploded with his sludge body parts scattering across the entire alley. Enemy down. Ren declared as he and Midoriya lowered their blasters. We did it. Midoriya whispered in joy. The pros, civilians, and viewers that were watched were dumbfounded as to what just happened. They just found out the identity of the Red Buster and now there was a new one. Soon the crowd and people watching burst into a fanfare as members of the media amongst them were also amazed at the shot they had captured. Usually, everyone expected the heroes to win. But now they were given the shock of their life when they witnessed the Red Buster and a new Go-Buster saving the day. Did you see that? The Red Buster stopped the villain and saved the hostage. A man yelled out in excitement. Yeah, and that other kid is a Sentai too. Another guy said. He called himself the Blue Buster, I think. A woman asked. What kind of quirks do they have anyway? A teenager asked. Who are they? And how did they make their costumes appear and disappear? His friend said. I don't know, but they were super cool. Another woman said. Yeah, and those Go-Busters are awesome. He said, giving her a high five. They won, they won, they won. Eri said repeatedly in excitement as she was happy for her brother's victory. Nice going, Red Buster and Blue Buster. Nick complimented their victory. All Might was one of the few who had kept quiet, watching everything from the crowd with a smile on his face. He was amazed that a young Amamiya and Midoriya were able to defeat a dangerous villain without difficulty. Ren then placed a hand on Midoriya's shoulder to get his attention. I'll take care of clean up. You go check on your friend. Ren said to him. Right, Midoriya said with a nod before the two moved in opposite directions. More words of praise came from the crowd, as some media even reported on it. Ren and Midoriya meanwhile, paid no attention as Ren scooped up the tiny puddle of the sludge villain and put him in a bottle. The villain was still alive and unconscious from the battle. Midoriya helped Bakugou over his shoulder as he moved him to the pros with the ambulance just arrived and gave Bakugou medical treatment. Hey, Kaken, you doing okay? Midoriya asked as the medics had him in a breathing mask and wrapped in a blanket. He didn't answer him, just seethed in rage in between coughs. Is he okay? Midoriya asked the medics. He'll be fine, we are going to take him to get checked out since he is coughing up sludge and make sure his airway is clear, medic said. Midoriya nodded as he pulled out his phone and handed it to the medic. This is his mother's cell number, give her a call and he won't give any trouble about going to get checked out. He told him. DKU, you traitor. Bakugou screamed before going back into a coughing fit. Midoriya shook his head as the medic called and talked to his mother before turning on the speakerphone and placing her on speaker. Katsuki, stop being a brat and go to the hospital or I will ground you for a year. Bakugou's mother yelled through the phone at her idiot son. Bakugou grumbled an acknowledgement and was loaded into the back of the ambulance. He was still glaring daggers at Midoriya right up to Ren walking up to him with a bottle filled with the captured villain. He was thinking that he didn't need help from that stupid vigilante and useless Deku. Musudafu Street's Tetsuin shopping district, evening. In a matter of minutes, the police came to pick up the captured sludge villain and took him away. Some of the pros were interviewed by the media. Man, you're a tough kid. And that quirk is something else. A hero complimented him. When you want to go pro, head over to my agency first. I'd love for you to be my sidekick while you're training. Bakugou just ignored what the pros were saying, and simply gave a scornful look towards Midoriya and Ren in his stretcher. While Bakugou was being praised for being brave, Ren looked at the hero in disappointment at what they were doing. Why the hell are they praising for his actions when he didn't do SHT? Ren thought in annoyance, as this was another reason why he hated this DMN society. Then Midoriya and Nick walked up to him. "Is your friend okay?" Ren asked. "Yeah, thanks to you," Midoriya said with a smile. "It wasn't just Ren, it was the both of you. So don't sell yourself short." Nick said to him. "Right, I got it," Midoriya said, rubbing the back of his helmet. "Well, our job is done here," Ren said to them. "Let's get out of here before dash." "Hold it right there. You're all under arrest," a booming voice said, interpreting Ren. They all turned to see a number of pro heroes giving them dangerous glares, with Death Arms and Cammy Wood leading the charge. They could all feel the tension in the air as the heroes slowly walked towards them with a serious look on all their eyes. "Red Buster, you have caused enough trouble for 2 weeks and your vigilantism ends here," Cammy Wood said as tree roots grew out of his hands to capture the three. "Same for you, kid. There was absolutely no reason to put yourself in danger like that," Death Arms said to him. Ren was getting irritated with what the heroes were saying. They weren't doing anything to stop that villain. He and this green-haired guy were getting chewed out for jumping in to stop the sludge villain. Meanwhile, Midoriya was terrified of what his mother was going to say when she saw the news. He saw the crew filming the entire time and was sure they got his face when he powered down. He had technically broken the law by fighting a villain without a license. And he didn't want to make this into a bigger deal than what it was. Before the heroes got closer to them, that is when the crowd turned ugly. "Hey! They saved that kid and stopped the villain. Really? Arresting the real hero? Come on. Those kids are heroes." Midoriya was stunned to see so many people trying to protest him and Ren from being arrested on their behalf. Death Arms and Cammy Wood tried to calm the crowd, but they were being drowned out by the shouts. It doesn't matter what they did, those two did the same, dangerous and reckless. Especially the Red Buster with his vigilantisms. Backdraft answers his question in a lecturing tone. They know it was reckless, but that didn't stop them from helping. Nick argued back. "They should have just let us handle the solution to begin with. We're heroes and those two are just a bunch of lawless vigilantes," Mount Lady barked out. "Excuse me?" Ren asked in an angry tone. "You heard me, kid. You should have just let us handle the solution. We're the professional." Mount Lady repeats her words. "Leave it to you, heroes. But let me remind you, Mount Lady, you did absolutely nothing." Ren shouts to her as she takes a step back, and the other male heroes too. The cameraman was about to turn off his camera, but his reporter told him to keep filming and turned to where Ren was. Ren took off his helmet to reveal his face once more, as he had a pissed-off expression written all over his face. "From what I was seeing, you idiots have no right calling yourselves heroes," Ren yelled out again. That caused the heroes and civilians to flinch at his change in tone. As the cameraman was filming everything, Ren said, "Maybe if you morons knew how to do your DMN jobs right, I wouldn't have had to resort to being a vigilante." Ren shouted, bellowed back at the heroes, before snapping a finger at them. "I heard every word you lot said. He's too slippery, his eyes felt DMN solid to me, maybe aim for the obvious weak point next time." Eyes practically growing in rage as he turned his gaze to Backdraft, he continued, sending them to the burn unit. "And you. If you hadn't wasted time putting out fires that this idiot dash," he pointed at a scowling Bakugou, "just kept reigniting with every explosion, you could have covered Kamui's branches with water. Wetwood wouldn't have burned as easily." He yelled at the heroes. The media was absolutely eating his words up, and both Kamui Woods and Backdraft looked thunderstruck. "That boy just has to hold on a little longer. What kind of heroes are you? The only reason Kamui Woods gets a pass is I saw him rescuing people. The rest of you just stood around. Mount Lady can't even control her size, despite the fact that she visibly grows and doesn't just poof into max height. And even if her quirk was just an on-off SWCH, why the hell doesn't she have equipment that can grow with her as her costume can? She could easily have blown out the fires with a giant fan. Ren said, making Mount Lady nod her head slowly. Ren then turned to Bakugou, who was still getting medical treatment as he listened to the vigilante. And you? Ren shouted while pointing at Bakugou. Good job not being able to stop exploding things for 5 goddamn seconds to let the heroes rescue you. If you hadn't spent the last 5 minutes blasting everything and causing hundreds of thousands in property damage, they could have pulled you out of that sludge with Kamui Woods after Backdraft put the fires out. But no, it's just one mode with you, isn't it? Blast everything, and then blast it again for good measure. He said, making the Bakugou angry. What was that? Bakugou got mad. You heard me, idiot, you were throwing a tantrum and destroying everything around you in an attempt to get the villain yourself. Ren said back in anger. Hey, he was desperate. Kamui Wood said. Bullshit. That's no excuse. Ren glares at the hero scaring him. You act like he saved the day, but he didn't do FSHT, except make the situation more worse than it already was. He then points at Midoriya. But this guy over here went forward to save him. He was willing to jump into danger to save a person's life, and he's quirkless. Even without a quirk of his own, he tried to help, throwing a backpack to blind the sludge villain, and clawing his eyes to slow him down. It wasn't much, but he tried to help in his own way. Ren said about what Midoriya did. Neither of you heroes tried to help, you just stood there and watched like innocent bystanders. From what I saw, he's more of a hero than out of all of you combined. He yelled out to everyone. Midoriya was taken by surprise by what he heard. For the first time in his life, someone actually believed that he could be a hero. Dang, this kid's not holding anything back. Toshinori was impressed by how young Amamiya was scolding the heroes. But he couldn't disagree with what young Amamiya said, that the other heroes could have handled the situation. If they had waited any longer, who knows how bad things could have gotten. If DMN heroes would do their job probably and show up when they're supposed to instead of worrying about your public image, then stupid mistakes like this never would have been possible in the first place. That kid wouldn't have rushed in to save a life. Ren told them in irritation. The heroes didn't say anything, they just were too stunned by Ren's words and started to realize their mistake. Everyone in Japan watching those was surprised that a vigilante was lecturing the pros, and the media was loving every second of this. The Sentai stopped for air after his short rant. Nobody said a word as he paused for a few seconds. He saw a few news reporters filming everything that was happening and had a cross look on his face as Ren walked towards the reporters, making them fear for their safety. Everybody watching from home looked on with bated breath to see what would happen to the reporters. Hey, you, Ren said, pointing at a female news reporter with brown short hair as she was scared of answering. Why, yes. The female news reporter answered in a nervous voice. Is this being broadcast all over the country right now? Ren asked her. Yes it is, but why do you ask? She asked him. To send a message. Ren answered. So get to it. I don't have all day. The female news reporter nodded quickly, then told her cameraman to get closer to Ren as a sea of reporters instantly perked up. All the watchers at home lost their sense of fear and were filled with anticipation. In certain locations all over the country, groups of individuals looked at their screens with interest in their eyes. Attention, people of Japan. Ren called out. You may or may not have heard of me. So for those of you who do or don't, my name is Red Buster. And behind me is my new partner/teammate Blue Buster. He said, pointing at Midoriya behind him as everyone looked at the boy. After being the center of attention, Midoriya nervously shook in place as he was beyond shy. Hey everyone. Midoriya said with a little nervous wave, with Nick next to him giving a wave too, before everyone turned their attention back on Ren. Izumi resident evening. Hayami and Tatsuo, who were still recovering from their injuries with their son Kota, were sitting in their living room watching the broadcast on their TV and listening to every single word. Together we are the Takumiai Sentai Gobusters. Ren told them. Gobusters. Kota said with awe as he looked at the person who saved his parents' life. So that kid the Red Buster, huh? Hayami asked, holding on to her husband. And there are second Gobusters now as well. Tatsuo pointed out. Night Eye Agency evening. Was a tall, lean but muscular man with rather sharp and elongated features. His shiny hair was always worn smoothed down and parted to his left, and was of a dark green color, with 3 yellow streaks towards the front, 2 on his right, and 1 on his left. His eyebrows were also yellowish, matching the rims of the triangular glasses he wore and the strikingly bright yellow irises of his stern-looking eyes. His looks gave off a sense of authority and power, as he rarely smiled and looked stern, and he always appeared to be glaring. Unusually for a pro-hero, he appeared to prefer plain office clothes, a plain white suit with gold buttons, a white dress shirt, and a red tie with white dots instead of an elaborate hero costume. His clothes, however, seemed to be quite durable, as he used them during battles and they didn't show any sign of damage or tearing. His name is Mirai Sasaki, also known as Sir Night Eye. He was alone in his office filled with all-might collector's items, sitting at his desk watching the broadcast on his phone as he was studying the Red Buster with a critical look. He's been causing an uproar for the past few weeks and caught the former sidekick of All Might's attention. We are part of a group of heroes who have protected the Earth from all sorts of evil that wanted to take over or destroy the planet. Ren told them. Sir Night Eye raised an eyebrow at this as he was curious about those group of heroes that the vigilante was speaking of. Outside of his office, his sidekicks were also watching the broadcast in the lobby that had a TV in it. One of them is a fairly well-built young woman with a rather slim build, her skin light blue in color. She has short, ruffled dark blue hair that curves upwards and downwards around her head, parted to her right, and wide yellow eyes with thick eyelashes. Her hero costume consists of a skin-tight dark blue CRP top with a white high-collared section, and a zipper down the middle, over the higher part of her chest, which reveals her torso from the underside of her melons. She wears black tights with loose white shorts, 2 yellow markings down either side of them, and thick white boots with lines running down their shafts, yellow rings in the center of them. Over her entire face, she wears a transparent visor with an air filter on each side, and on her hands, she wears plain dark blue gloves. Her name is Karakoko Awada, also known as Bubble Girl. The order is a tall, thin man with the face of a brown centipede. He wears a black tuxedo and a scarf that looks like a centipede wrapped around his neck. His name is Juzo Moshi, also known as the Hero Centipeder. Kodai resident evening. Yui was in her room after a long hard day at school watching the broadcast through her laptop. To her surprise, the boy she met a few weeks ago was the infamous vigilante that she heard about. Those legendary heroes are known as the Super Sentai. Ren told them. Super Sentai. Yui said as she was interested in knowing more about those heroes. Mizutofu City evening. At a small cafe outside, 4-year students at UA High School watched the broadcast on a large jumbo screen on a building from across the street with multiple other people in the area. One was a tall young man with a very muscular build who possessed a number of noticeable scars around his lower arms. Mirio's design is very unique due to his blue oval-shaped eyes, drawn in a simplistic style with no visible sclera, and nose which is prominently rounder than most others. He has blonde hair, the top part of which is arranged in a cowlick, while the bottom section is worn swept backward. His name is Mirio Togata, also known as Lemillion. The other was a tall young man with rather pale skin. His ears are longer than most, their tips pointy and somewhat elf-like. He has messy, indigo hair, which sticks out behind his head, and thin, tired-looking eyes, partially covered by his bangs despite the fact that they're supposed to be split so as to not impair his vision. His shoulders are usually hunched, and he avoids making eye contact with people. His name is Tamaki Amajiki, also known by his hero name Sun Eater. Another one was a fair-skinned girl of average height with wide, curious eyes. Her upper eyelashes are long and thick, and her irises are a royal blue. Her hair is periwinkle, and it reaches all the way down to her knees, twisting around itself at her waist and curving inwards around her legs. She has side-swept bangs, tucked behind her ears on the right and hanging just over her eyes on the left, and two short clumps of hair on either side of her face, curved towards her face on the right and behind it, under her ear, on the left. Her name is Nijire Hado, also known as Nijire-chan. The last one has short, cropped hair that has been dyed salmon-colored, and reddish-brown eyes with long lower eyelashes. She also has several piercings in her ears, all with gray studs. Her name is Heya. Mirio, Nijire, and Amajiki are a part of UA's Big Three, the strongest students in the entire school. Nijire's best friend Yu with them as they make their way to a cafe after a long day of hero training at school, is Nijire's idea since she wanted to eat some strawberry shortcake. After a few minutes at the cafe, the UA students witnessed the fight against the sludge villain on the jumbo screen from across the street and were now listening to Ren's speech. Hey, isn't that the red buster guy from the news? He's so cool and he has a partner now too. The blue buster he called himself. What are those Super Sentai guys he was talking about? I never heard of them before. Have you heard anything about this, Mirio? Nijire asked while slapping Mirio on his arm multiple times quickly. Mirio just slightly chuckles at his friend's behavior. No, but I'm curious to know myself. He said looking at the broadcast. I didn't think that the vigilante was someone around our age, Yu said out loud. Those vigilantes look scary, Amajiki said as he was still nervous after watching the fight with the two Gobusters and villain. I am here to share a message with all of you, especially the ones that call themselves heroes. My thoughts about the world that you call a superhuman society that everyone lives in. Ren told them. Muzudafu Street's Tetsuin shopping district, evening. Back in the alley, the new crew was filming the whole thing in anticipation. The crowd of people and heroes there watched and listened to every word from the vigilante. You claim that those society filled with superpowered humans is prefect, Ren set out to the whole country. But here are my thoughts about this superhuman society and about all the heroes in it. Muzudafu City, evening. From all over the country in multiple cities, the people were also watching the video, from their homes, parks, crowded streets, and stores. Everybody was on the edge of their seat, waiting to hear what Red Buster would say next. Quirks had been around for a while and there had been plenty of vigilantes. However, most just wanted to be famous and cared about nothing else. The Red Buster was different, and everybody wanted to hear his motivations. This society and the heroes in it is a goddamn joke. Ren stated, making every person gasp in shock. A big fat lie. A broken system. Created by flawed people and hypocritical fools who don't have the right to call themselves heroes. Muzudafu Street's Tetsuin shopping district, evening. You say that society is perfect in all regards, perfectly balanced, perfectly maintained. But what would you ever know about it? Your leaders are just blind idiots walking in the light that created this piece of CRP heroic system to begin with. Ren said as this made every politician in the country go red in the face with anger. I know exactly how your society of heroes functions, and it is flawed in all regards. UA High School Conference Room, evening. In a room, a group of teachers from UA were watching the live broadcast through their room's TV screens, as they were having a meeting about the students of their school before they saw the fight against the Gobusters and villain. One of them is a stout man who appears to be a possible combination of several different animals. Including a dog, a mouse, and a bear, which would make him a chimera. He has the head of a mouse with circular black eyes, a large scar over the right one, relatively rectangular-shaped ears with pale pink insides slanting outwards from the top of his head, and an elongated muzzle with a small round nose. His fur is white and has large, dog-like paws with pink pads and a thin tail like that of a cat. He sports a white dress shirt, a dark red tie around his neck, a black double-breasted waistcoat, and matching dress pants. He wears orange lace-up sneakers with incredibly thick soles which seem to be quite large on him. His name is Nizu, also known as Mr. Principal. He is a pro hero and the principal of UA High School. Another one has the appearance of a stereotypical Western cowboy. His face is covered by an old-school tan gas mask, shaped a little like a horse's muzzle, with triangular holes for his eyes and silver ear defenders wired to the sides of the mask, but his dark, bluish shoulder-length dreadlocks are always visible from the back and sides. On his head, he wears a brown cowboy hat with a thick metallic plate at the front, a large S stamped in the center, gray boots with knee-high shafts and vamps with silver trims that dip a little at the front, a heel band with a spur at the end attached to the back of each boot. He wears a large red cloak, buttoned up at the top, with frayed ends, under which he wears a plain black tank top with white armor strapped over the right side of his torso and a brown belt with a gun holster attached at his hip. He has baggy black or dark brown pants with light brown or yellow chaps over them in stereotypical cowboy fashion. On his arms, he wears black skin-tight arm guards going up to his biceps, and on his hands, tan gloves. His hero's name was Snipe. Another one is a very tall, wide-set man of a bulky, muscular build, with lightly tanned skin, and a few visible scars showing on his left cheek and the left side of his notably thick neck. He has short pale gray hair that is spiked upwards, away from his face, the only exception to this being the small clump of hair that hangs down over the left of his forehead. His eyes are very small and thin, and he has a wide mouth with two prominent lower canines, which appear even when his mouth is closed. His hero costume consists of a dark red skin-tight suit with a very low U-shaped collar, which exposes the middle of his pectoral muscles and is lined with a thick black trim, which matches the ones over his shoulders. He wears white over-the-knee boots and thick vambraces over his lower arms, a thin wire snaking from one of the two small protrusions on the left one to the back of his neck, and red gloves. Around his waist, he has a three-piece metallic belt that dips downwards in the center, and he wears an orange mask over his eyes. His name is Sekijiro Kan, also known by his hero name, BLD Hero, Vlad King. Another one is a tall, slender man with short hair and completely blank eyes tilted inwards. Due to losing his legs in the line of duty, he uses replacement prosthetics, and when in anything but his hero attire, he wears a pair of large glasses. In his hero costume, he wears a tan cloak that covers most of his body, the area over his torso, and the high collar resembling that of a double-breasted trench coat. Underneath this, he wears a skin-tight black bodysuit with a golden striped neck area and a matching black helmet that covers his entire head, a jaw guard attached over his nose and around his jaw, and circular mufflers. He also wears baggy dark gray pants and a pair of thin, lightweight prosthetic legs. His hero's name is Ectoplasm. Another one has the appearance of a dog due to his quirk. He has scruffy blonde hair sticking straight out behind his head. He also wears a muzzle over his slightly pointed snout in his hero costume. His name is Ryo Inui, also known as the hunting dog hero, Hound Dog. Another one is wearing a costume consisting of a white space suit design using what appears to be a puffy jacket instead of an actual suit, a black helmet with white eyes, and a pair of yellow boots. It is possible to assume that 13 is thin, given the quite small legs showing between the costume's pants and shoes, but this is unconfirmed. Her hero's name is 13. Another one appears to be a humanoid block of cement with black, seemingly shut eyes and gray hair tied into a short ponytail. His body shape is evenly blocky all around his body. His eyes are generally closed and his lips are pulled upwards. His hero costume consists of a sleeveless brown suit that includes yellow stripes, shorts, and an elongated collar. He also sports gray shoes with yellow soles. Ken Ishiyama, also known by his hero name Cementos. Another one is a short, skinny man with a very youthful appearance for his advanced age. He has spiky ginger hair, reaching just past his shoulders, and dull blue eyes, as well as a notably large mouth. His hands appear to be the largest part of his body, disproportional to his rather small frame. His hero costume consists of a large yellow helmet in the shape of a rectangular excavator claw, the top piece of which protrudes outwards to cover his head and most of his face, and the bottom piece left to act as something of a long jaw guard. He leaves himself shirtless and also wears a pair of large, fingerless gray gloves with metal guards that extend down his arms, as well as a pair of plain cyan pants. When in battle, his helmet is hooked up to a large steel appliance that he sits on and can use for combat, as it includes a pair of sizable metal arms. His name is Higuri Maijima, also known as Excavation Hero, Power Loader. Another one is a short, elderly woman with gray hair styled into a netted bun, a large syringe poking diagonally out of it to the left. She has a notably small nose and eyes which are usually drawn as two little dashes, and a long mouth with defined nasolabial folds. She wears a doctor's lab coat and a dress with yellow and red vest-like designs on either side, 2 yellow buttons, and a belt with a pink R-shaped buckle. She wears pink boots and has a helmet round the sides of her head, a purple-tinted visor joining it over her eyes. In addition, she walks with a cane designed like a syringe. Her name is Chio Shuzenji, also known as Youthful Heroine, Recovery Girl. Another one is a tall, slim man with long blonde hair, which he wears spiked upwards in a huge tuft behind his head, and a small brown mustache. He has rectangular eyes with concentric greenish-yellow pupils, and he is almost always seen with a large smile on his face and has never been seen drawn with nostrils. His hero costume consists of a black jacket with a very tall collar, upturned and complete with studs, and matching black pants and knee-high boots. He sports tan shoulder pads, a red belt and elbow pads, all studded, and black fingerless gloves. His neck is always obscured by a directional speaker which he uses with his quirk. He's wearing a pair of headphones with the word Hage written on the headband and a pair of orange-tinted shades. His name is Hisashi Yamada, also known as the voice hero, Present Mike. And lastly was Aizawa and Midnight. Each of them was listening to the broadcast in silence as they observed the Red Buster. First off, I went to start with the so-called heroes. From what I saw from the heroes in that country and the rest of them from all over the world is that they use the heroic business just some excuse for men to go around bragging that their quirk is better and women to turn into SEC symbols that teach young girls to act like skanks. Look here, you heroes, I don't want to be one of those jackasses who gets his pee-pee sucked by the media for keeping the peace in some well-off neighborhood. Ren bluntly told off the whole country. Every pro-hero and the ones in the room listening to the broadcast felt the insults in full force, some more than others, as they felt that their profession was not only insulted but they couldn't help but feel ashamed at the bitter truth of those words. Nizu couldn't help but agree with what the vigilante said. That was a sad truth that made bad heroes. That's why we have schools like UA, to teach the next generation of heroes to be better than that. Nizu thought over Ren's words. Torino resident evening. In a small apartment, an elderly man was watching the broadcast while eating some taiyaki. He is an extremely short, elderly man with heavy wrinkles and a scrawny build. He has a light complexion and brown eyes. His hair is gray and spiky, styled short with some bangs hanging forward and a trimmed beard. His hero costume consists of a full-body monochrome suit along with a yellow cape, a belt with the letter G on it, very thick yellow gloves and boots, and a dark domino mask that resembles 2 diamonds. Sorahiko Torino, also known by his hero name Gran Torino. I for one don't need hordes of people praising me for having a strong quirk and being a decent human being. I could save others just fine as a police officer, being just as effective and with none of the ego. Red told them. Ha ha ha. Kids those days sure know how to cause trouble. Gran Torino laughed as he still had a serious expression while listening to the Ren Todoroki resident evening. In a fancy Japanese-style living room, 3 siblings watched the broadcast. The first one is a young man of above-average height with a rather well-built figure. He sports white spiky hair with 2 short strands hanging down the middle of his forehead. He also has gray eyes with fairly long eyelashes. His name is Natsuo Todoroki. The other is a young woman of average height with gray eyes. She has white hair, flecked with a few noticeable traces of a crimson-like color, which is mostly shoulder-length aside from the ear-length side bangs she sports and the short clump she leaves hanging down her forehead. She wears a white dress shirt with a plain grayish-peach-colored cardigan, the sleeves worn rolled up to just below her elbows, along with navy blue jeans. She also sports brown dress shoes and a pair of red-framed rectangular glasses. Her name is Fuyumi Todoroki. The last one is a reasonably tall and rather muscular young man who is well built for his age. He has quite long hair, though it doesn't pass his neck, and wears bangs, parted twice so as to not obscure his vision. His hair is evenly split between 2 colors, white on his right side and crimson-red on his left. He also possesses heterochromia iridium, which causes his left eye's iris to appear turquoise, while his right is a somewhat brownish dark gray. His eyes, in shape, are quite thin and reserved, and he also has a large burn scar on the left side of his face, which reaches from his hairline to halfway down his cheek. His name is Shoto Todoroki. I've researched the actions of pro heroes, and I've been very disappointed with what I learned. There are pros who use their own family as pawns or married into certain families to have kids whose quirks are more powerful than normal and use them like their F-tools. Those that flaunt themselves like it's a FTSH, and those too far up their own but to realize their quirks are not infallible. Ren told them. The Todoroki sibling was shocked and slightly disturbed by hearing these as it brought back some painful memories, especially Todoroki who gritted his teeth in frustration while he balled up his left hand into a fist of rage, cursing his left side and son of a father for destroying his life. Red Buster. Todoroki thought looking at the TV screen. Best Jeanist Agency evening. In an office-like building, one of the top 10 heroes along with his sidekicks watched the broadcast in the lobby with interest. He is a tall, slim man with an unnaturally long and flexible neck, as shown on several occasions, and dark, heavily lashed eyes that appeared to tilt slightly inwards. He has rather long blonde hair which he wears combed drastically to the left, covering his left eye. His hero costume consists of a pair of jeans, a denim waistcoat with 2 large BRST pockets, and a denim dress shirt with a very high collar that covers his face up to just below his nose. He wears 2 belts, one around his collar and one around his waist, and short dark brown boots with thick gray shafts and soles. Tsunagu Hakamada, also known as Fiber Hero, Best Jeanist. I've seen what having these people as role models has done to society. I've seen elementary schoolers SLT shaming teenagers for being attractive, young kids throw their quirks around like toys and kids become sociopaths because everyone was so busy kissing their asses for having a strong quirk and telling them that they will be the next big thing that they didn't do jack SHT to fix their attitudes. Which results in creating a bunch of narcissists and assholes that are even worse than the villains that your heroes fight against. Ren continued to fulminate against the hero system and its effects on society as he was becoming angry, his voice growing louder. Best Jeanist made a sad sigh as he couldn't disagree with what the vigilante said. He's not wrong about that. Both heroes and villains are cut from the same cloth, and one wrong stench can make something ugly if not thread with care. He said as he agreed with the Red Buster. Musudafu Street's Tetouan Shopping District evening. And that's another problem with your bullshit of a society, is that focus way too much on a person's quirk instead of the individual themselves, Ren said in a mad voice. Azui resident evening. In a dining room, a frog-like family was watching the broadcast together with widened eyes. One of them is a short girl of a relatively slender build and has notably large hands. Her appearance is rather frog-like, she has a very wide mouth, which dips down a little in the middle just like that of a common frog, and oval-shaped eyes with large, black irises, their lower eyelashes visibly pronounced. Her hair is a dark sea-green color and is very long, reaching all the way to her waist with the ends tied together at the bottom in a large bow of hair. She has 2 shoulder-length clumps framing her face and shorter bangs between her eyes, some of them partially swept to each side. She was wearing a navy blue school uniform. Her name is Tsuyu Azui. Another is a little boy who has black hair that obscures his right eye, dark green eyes that are seen half closed, and a frog-like appearance. He has blush marks on his cheeks. He was wearing a navy blue shirt and light brown pants. His name is Samidare Azui. Another is a little girl who has a tadpole-like appearance. She has large eyes, with 3 upper eyelashes and notably small eyebrows. She has light tan skin and her mouth is usually set in a pout-like shape. Her dark green hair is worn in low pigtails. She is wearing a lime green long dress. Her name is Satsuki Azui. Another is a very frog-like appearance, more so than the rest of his family, as he appears to have the head of a brown toad. He is a tall, stocky, middle-aged man with black, short-cropped hair and black eyes. He wears a plain business suit with a blue dotted tie. His name is Ganma Azui. The last one has long, dark hair, worn in a similar style to her older daughter. Her face grows wider around her mouth, which is notably long, and she has circular, spaced-out eyes with long upper eyelashes. She appears to be rather prone to blushing, as she's seen with little pink marks on her cheeks, and she has a small nose, positioned very high up on her face. Like the rest of her family, she has a very frog-like appearance. She wears a simple purple sweater with a darker turtleneck, which is buttoned over her left shoulder. Her name is Baru Azui. Your society thins to judge others blindly based on their powers or appearance, and those who are born with no powers at all, Ren told them. Tsuyu's emotionless mask started to break as she could relate to these, as her frog-like appearance made it difficult for her to make friends. Tokyo, evening. In a random city, a man with a reptile-like appearance was in his room watching the broadcast on his computer. He is a young man with a reptile-like appearance, with bright green scales for skin and a face shaped like that of a lizard. His hair is relatively long and swept backward and is a desaturated pink-purple, standing out from the rest of his colors. He is wearing a light blue hoodie and a black leather jacket with it. His name is Shuichi Iguchi, also known as Spinner. Kids and adults are both being bullied or discriminated against for having different quirks that make them look inhuman or villainous powers that make some believe that certain people are villains. Ren told them. This made Shuichi's eyes widen as tears started to come out as he was deeply touched by Ren's words. Due to his lizard-like appearance, Shuichi Iguchi was a constant victim of discrimination. His early life consisted of living among people who thought of him as a freak. Trying to do anything about it was futile and he was filled with nothing but emptiness. He grew up a shut-in playing video games. Nabu Middle School, evening. At a random middle, a boy with messy indigo hair and his classmates were watching the broadcast through one of their phones. He is a young man with messy, indigo-colored hair that flares out in large tufts around his head and notably straight teeth. His eyes are purple with white pupils, and are thin and somewhat triangular in shape, pointing downward, with no visible eyelashes. They're usually half-closed, and he has very dark eye bags underneath them. His name is Hitoshi Shinso. But that's a load of horse sht. There's no such thing as a villainous quirk. Anyone who believes in something is AF narrow-minded idiot. Any quirk can be villainous if it's used by the wrong person. Ren said to them. This causes Shinso's eyes to widen from shock, as he did not expect to hear that. Any quirk can be villainous if it's used by the wrong person. Shinso thought deeply as everyone told him that he would make the perfect villain thanks to his quirk. But the Red Buster just completely destroyed that thought and replaced it with sound logic that Shinso and his classmates never really thought of before. Anyone can be a hero or a villain no matter what their quirks are. Muzutafu Street's evening. In a back dark alley, a young man watches the broadcast on his phone while sitting on a wooden box. He is a fairly tall, pale young man of a slim, somewhat lanky build, described to be in his early 20s. He has white hair with a few red streaks at its crown that spikes upward around his head, hanging low over his eyes, which are thin, turquoise in color, and heavily lidded. Before the reveal of his true identity, his hair was dyed black. His most striking features are undoubtedly the patches of gnarled, wrinkled, purple skin that cover much of his lower face and neck, all the way down past his collarbone, below his eyes, around his torso, and on his arms and legs due to him losing control of his fire quirk at a young age and engulfing him in flames. These appear to be attached to the rest of his skin by multiple, crude surgical staples or hoop piercings. He has several silver cartilage piercings in both ears, and a triple nostril piercing on the right side of his nose. He also seems to be lacking earlobes on both sides of his ears upon closer inspection. In his first appearance, he wears a dark blue jacket with a high, ripped collar, and matching pants, cut off above his ankles, and a pair of dark dress shoes on his feet. He also has a plain pale gray, scoop-neck shirt, below which a gray belt with a circular pattern wraps around his waist, a leather satchel attached at the back. His villain's name is Dabi, real name is Toya Todoroki. You should understand that not everyone that looks like a villain is evil, it's just narrow-minded people thinking they are evil due to their appearance, Ren told them. Okay vigilante, you got my attention. Dabi said with an intrigued look. Tokoyami resident evening. A boy with a bird-like appears was watching the broadcast in his living alone with his quirk. He is a short young man with the head of a black bird, possibly supposed to resemble that of a crow or a raven. He has a tan, yellowish beak which is slightly hooked down at the end, thin, red eyes with a small black pupil, one on each side of his head, and a red choker, which he rarely removes. Despite the appearance of his head, however, his body is of normal human shape, with rather fair skin. His name is Fumikage Tokoyami. Even though they are scorned for their appearance, they still fight for the sake of others. There are several examples of villainous heroes in this country like Gang Orca. Ren told them. True words, Red Buster. Tokoyami nodded with his eyes closed to the truth. Man, I'm starting to like this guy. Dark Shadow said, popping out of Tokoyami's body. Ryukyu Agency evening. A blonde-haired was in her office alone watching the broadcast on her phone. She is a woman who looks in her early 20s, with chin-length blonde hair, which she wears swept back with a headband, a long fringe over the right side of her face, covering her eyes. She has thin, yellow, inward-tilting eyes with slit pupils and notably sharp teeth. She is wearing a consists of a dark red, traditional qipao with a pale green scale trim around her shoulders, which seems to only be slit on the left side, with yellow claw patterns on the bottom and smaller ones around her neck. She wears knee-high boots and a strap around her exposed thigh. She wears long, almost sleeve-like white gloves that nearly reach her shoulders, with higher tabs on the outer sides, and they expose her hands from the wrist. She wearing a matching green headband with 4 large, pale purple claws attached, covering the right side of her face, and a set of small black dragon wings protrude from the back of her head, with a number of gold-spiked cartilage piercings decorating her left ear. Her name is Ryuko Tatsuma, also known as the Dragoon Hero, Ryukyu. She heard about this vigilante from the news and couldn't help but be impressed with his actions, even if he was breaking the law. And another example of why there are no villainous quirks is that All Might could smash someone into a bloody paste, Endeavor could burn someone inside out, Miruko can kick a person's limbs off, and Mount Lady can easily crush a person under her foot, Ren said to them. Ryukyu just sighed in agreement with what the Gobusters said, as that was a major issue wrong with their society. Muzutafu Street's Tetsuin. Shopping District evening. My point is that you shouldn't let quirks define a person. Because certain powers can have good and bad qualities to each other. But does that necessarily mean they're necessarily one or the other? No, it doesn't. It's only dangerous in the hands of whoever wields it. Something you all tend to forget. Ren accused them. Midoriya could understand what Ren was saying, as quirk can have both a good and negative effect on the person who uses it. And how do we forget that? In an age of superhuman abilities, we have achieved peace through our rules and regulations on quirk usage. A brave hero had the guts to shout out. Have you really thought? Ren asked, as this made everyone stop and stare at the teen incredulously. Tartarus Prison, evening. In an isolated cell, a woman who secretly had a cell phone was watching the broadcast as she took a personal interest in the Sentai vigilante who was making a name for himself. She is a tall woman with a curvy body. Her hair is two-toned. She has short, dark blue hair with numerous scattered pink streaks on it. Her eyes are purple with a mauve shade framed by dark blue-colored angled eyebrows. She wore a standard red-orange inmate jumpsuit issued to all the prisoners of Tartarus. Her name is Kana Tsutsumi, known by her alias Lady Nagant. Every time someone loses control of their quirk or has one with devastating power or even tries to understand their abilities, you immediately throw them in jail, treating them like a monster or freaks to society. All you do is show them that it's wrong to be who they are or discover who they are. And for what? To force society to fit your grossly unrealistic stand of being a superhuman. Merging the government, law enforcement, and entertaining business all in one, even where I'm from, those are completely separate from one another. Ren told them. Couldn't have stated it even better than myself, Red Buster. Lady Nagant commented before looking at Midoriya on screen. And it's good to see that you're doing okay, my little green bunny, or should I say, Blue Buster. She said with a tiny smile. Lady Nagant was forced to do the government's dirty work and was now imprisoned before killing the former president of the Hero Public Safety Commission because of how corrupt he was. She pulled out an old picture from her pocket. The picture was of her at 24 years old standing next to her friend, a green-haired woman, and a 3-year-old green-haired boy wrapped around her right leg. If she ever gets out of this shithole, she would like to meet those Gobusters personally. Musudafu Streets, evening. In another back dark alley, a high school girl with a bloody knife in her hand was watching the broadcast on her phone as she paid closer attention to what the vigilante said next. She is a relatively petite, fair-skinned girl who is very prone to blushing and is frequently described as having a rather pretty face. She has slightly inward-tilting bright yellow eyes with thin slits, making them somewhat resemble those of a cat, and her wide mouth is also rather feline, as both her upper and lower canines are more pointed and longer than the rest of her teeth, giving her a vampire-like appearance. Her hair is a pale, dirty ash blonde and is styled into two messy buns, with numerous wild strands sticking out at all angles from their centers and where they're fastened, a straight fringe, and two chin-length side bangs to frame her face. Her casual outfit consists of a plain sifuku with a kansai collar, both the skirt and the shirt dark blue with a double white trim, which is paired with a red scarf that she ties loosely below. Over this, she wears an oversized beige cardigan with a rather long hem and cuffs, and pockets on either side, the right one shown to hold a number of trinkets on either a keychain or a cell phone strap. She sports knee-length black socks and dark brown dress shoes with thick heels, the same as the outdoor uniform shoes students traditionally wear in Japanese schools. Her name is Himiko Toga. The mass idiots of the public look down upon those with quirks that have villainous qualities and shun that person into thinking a life of villainy is all that waits for them. As if their fate is predetermined by what others think of their individuality. Ren told them. He understands. Himiko said with a stunned look on his face. Ida resident evening. In a fancy house, two brothers were watching the broadcast in a workout room as they listened to every word of the Gobuster. One of them is a relatively tall and muscular young man with a wide frame. He has short dark blue hair, flattened neatly down and parted on the right side of his head, a small patch completely shaved near the base of his head, and rather square eyes that match the notably pointed shape of his jaw. He usually wears a serious expression, and his eyebrows seem to be permanently pointed inwards, quite thin and long in length, the far ends sharply hooked inwards, and he wears glasses with rectangular lenses. His name is Tenya Ida. The other brother looked much like his younger brother, with square features and short, dark blue, spiked hair. A differing feature is that he possesses arrow-shaped eyebrows and has a slightly longer face. His name is Tensei Ida, also known as Turbo Hero, Ingenium. Your society may create heroes, but it creates villains just as easily. Like the series on a TV show. The mighty hero takes on the new big bad guys each and every season, entertaining the masses and blinding them from the truth of what really happens. Especially the people who became pro-heroes for the wrong reasons, such as the pursuit of fame and money. And you are freely allowed them to do as they wish, most of the time, all because they were lucky enough to be born with a powerful and useful quirk that you can abuse for your own personal gain. Ren said, making everyone sweat again and anxiously as the teen continued to push their society. Everyone then started to think about all the people in their society who suffered discrimination because of this. They wonder if they unintentionally created villains. Tensei frowned at this but couldn't deny that was the sad truth about most pro-heroes. Unfortunately, his little brother did not see it that way. How dare that criminal say something horrific about our heroic system? Heroes are noble warriors that keep the peace and don't abuse their duties to the people. Ida protested as he was chopping his arm in the air. He's not wrong, Tenya, Tensei said, too much of his brother's horror. Tensei, you can't be serious. Are you actually listening to the nonsense of a vigilante that has no respect for heroes and everything they stand for? Ida asked his brother in shock. As a hero, I don't condone his vigilante actions, but I do agree with him that there are some things wrong with our society. Like what the Red Buster pointed out, is that there are some heroes that abuse the system before their own personal gain. Tensei said to his Ida in a serious tone, making his brother look stunned. Musudafu Street's Tetsuin Shopping District, evening. Maybe the result you've gotten was by accident. There are bad people regardless of any circumstances. And maybe you've all done this on purpose so you can line the walls of your mansions with even more money you'll never spend. That wouldn't be too far from the truth. And don't even get me started on those who don't have quirks. Ren shouted with even more anger, making everyone flinch as they could feel his anger. Yayarozu. Resident, evening. In a mansion, a girl with a spiky black ponytail was watching the broadcast in her family living room along with multiple butlers and maids, as they couldn't stop listening to the vigilante. She is a fairly tall teenage girl with a mature physique, considering her age. She had long black hair that was tied into a spiky ponytail with a large strand hanging on the right side of her face and onto eyes that pointed slightly inwards, which seemed to resemble a cat. Her name is Momo Yayarozu. Just last week I saved the life of an elementary school girl named Kana Ikura, who was about to take her own life by drowning herself in the river, all because a few jackasses thought it was a good idea to ridicule and bully an innocent little girl, just for being quirkless. Ren said, shocking everyone listening. Momo was horrified to hear this, her hand covering her mouth, letting out a loud gash. She wondered how bad the world would be if they were so quick to pass by someone without a quirk. While it was true that a quirk made for a situation was much easier, it didn't mean that someone who had trained for the situation couldn't do the same thing. Musudafu Police Headquarters, evening. At the head police station in Musudafu, all of the workers there were watching the broadcast with interest. Tsukachi was there and watching the speech as well, and was surprised that the Red Buster was the young man he met a few days ago. I did my homework, and the suicide rate of people born without a quirk was as much higher than people with them, even with the number of people who were born without them being so much smaller, Ren told them. This made everyone uncomfortable, even Tsukachi had a frown on his face from the painful truth. He's not wrong about that. Tsukachi thought with his head slightly down. Midoriya resident, evening. In a living, a middle-aged woman was watching the broadcast on her TV, in absolute worry as her baby boy was involved in the incident. She is a slightly overweight woman with shoulder-length hair with a ponytail on the left and shows signs of her more mature age. Her name is Midoriya. She's been watching the broadcast from the beginning when her son Izuku rushed in to save her friend's son Katsuki from the villain. You may think it isn't that bad, but the problems are a lot worse, honestly. Not once has anyone, not even a pro hero, ever called out the abuse quirkless people take from others. It's disgusting, to say the least. That is why you pros will never become a true heroes, only a 7th-rate fakes. Ren told them. That hit Inko hard as she didn't expect that. She just hoped her son never experienced anything like that since he doesn't have a quirk. It wasn't just her, but almost every person in the country started to feel guilty for not helping the quirkless. Musudafu Street's evening. In another part of the city, a hero was at a taiyaki stall watching the broadcast on the owner's television. He is a big, round man, easily towering over other adults. His mouth is big and his nose is smaller, which alongside his odd body proportions, gives him an odd look. His hero costume consists of black pants and an orange, zippered hood, which has the initials of his alias on the front of fat gum, written with a clear F, G, and an inverted F. Alongside them, he also wears gloves, metallic boots, and a mask that goes around his eyes and over his forehead. Taishiro Toyomitsu, also known as BMI Hero, Fat Gum. Do any of you know how many of kids or adults were bullied for things out of their control? Do you know how many of them face discrimination every day because they had a useless, villain, or no quirk? Do you know how many of them have gone down the path of villainy because you people pushed them over the edge to their breaking points? Do you know how many of them have taken or were close to committing suicide? Do you understand? Do you? Ren's yelled voice became more enraged by the second before calming himself down. Kid's not wrong about that. Fat Gum sadly said while eating some more taiyaki. Meta Liberation Army Headquarters evening. In a giant office, a group of people was watching the broadcast with interest as they were fans of Red Buster. One of them is a tall, odd-looking, middle-aged man with a prominently long, pointed nose and obtruding chin, as well as small, dark eyes. He has short, orange-brownish hair, set noticeably far up his forehead, a widow's peak pointing downwards in the center, and he wears it swept back around his head. He doesn't have any visible eyebrows and also possesses 2 dark moles on the left of his forehead. This stems from a result of his quirk that causes his hair to recede. Sometimes, when he feels upset, a dark fire-like stain spreads around his eyes, becoming a large facial stain that resembles a domino mask. Despite appearing rather slim, he is shown to have quite a muscular mantle and figure. He is in a suit that consists of a green dress shirt, a green tie, and a black, pinstriped blazer with matching dress pants. His name is Rikiya Yatsubashi, also known by his alias Redestro. Another was a woman with long, pale lilac hair, worn parted to her right side, full lips, and pale blue skin. Her eyes were unusual, in that her sclera was completely black whereas her irises were green, and her pupils were completely black. And they were framed by notably long eyelashes, wrinkles, and small eyebrows. She wore gold earrings, a navy blue, shoulderless dress with long sleeves, and an X-shaped belt with a circular buckle around her waist. For the revival party, Chitos also donned an unbuttoned, salmon-colored jacket with black fur around the collar and hem. She sported light-colored laced high boots. Her name is Chitos Kazuki, also known by the code name Curious. Another one is a man with reasonably long, black hair that he wears swept back, a single strand left hanging down over his face, thin eyebrows, and a small mustache. He has an angular nose and small, feminine eyes with dark blue irises. He has yellow glasses with purple-tinted lenses. He wears a plain business suit, consisting of a white dress shirt, a black tie, and a black blazer. His name is Koku Hanabata, also known by the code name Trumpet. Another one is a male who appears to possess pale, messy ice blue hair of varying lengths and blue eyes that are framed by a set of long eyelashes that are somewhat the same color as his hair. He is clad in a thick, light blue parka that reaches down below his knees, done up in the center with 7 brown buttons, with a fur-lined hood that covers his face from view. He also sports black baggy pants and a pair of lace-up winter boots. His name is Geeton, also known as Iceman. Another one is an exceptionally tall, well-built man, possessing defined muscles and wide shoulders. He has small black eyes, a circular nose, and a prominently large, square jaw, with the lower jaw protruding outwards, and his mouth is notably high up on his face as a result. His hero costume consists of a purple, skin-tight bodysuit with black arrow-like markings across his chest, around his waist, and down the center of his thighs. His knee-high boots share this theme, as they have arrow-shaped cavities down their shafts, and he also wears a matching black mask over the top of his head and eyes. On his hands, he wears elbow-length green gloves with golden scale patterns around the edges, and he also sports a short green scarf-like cape around his neck, a golden disc on the left of it connecting 2 aiguillettes around his torso. He completes his outfit with a thick black belt with a large buckle, 5 green circles, and a golden rectangle set into the center of it. His name is Tatsuyuki Tokaname, also known as Sliden Go. The last one is a tall and lanky man with shiny black hair that reaches his waist, worn down with a neat fringe hanging over his eyes which are shown to be wide with small gray irises. He has a visibly long nose and a wide mouth with notably straight teeth. He wears a long-sleeved black turtleneck shirt and dark pants. His name is Tomoyasu Chikazoku, also known by the code name Skeptic. You'd think racism would have disappeared a long time ago from the world by now, but no. Even after quirks appeared in the world, they still have it, and for something as petty as having a cool power versus a weak power or just no power at all and looking different. It's almost like you people are actually trying to create villains. Ren said, making everyone feel uncomfortable with the thought. Oh my, I would love to interview this vigilante in person, Chitose said with curiosity. He sure is an interesting individual, Rikiya said while looking at Ren with a smile on his face. Maybe he could use this Sentai to help his cause. Takagi resident evening. In a bed, a family was watching the broadcast on their TV in worry. He is a man of average height and has dark, curly hair. He has pierced ears with padlocks earrings. Notably, his fingertips have protrusions that resemble key teeth. Part of his hero costume is a small yellow mask that covers his eyes. He wears a red necklace around his neck with 3 keys dangling from it. He wears a yellow and dark green, short-sleeved bodysuit with a print resembling a keyhole. He wears 2 light gray shoulder pads with a dark keyhole shape on both of them, a pair of white boots, and a brown belt with keys dangling on the side. His name is Ken Takagi, also known as Lock Hero, Rock Lock. His wife and newborn child were there with him as the vigilante was speaking. You've been born in an age where heroes and quirks are the most important thing in the world, yet you all forget most of the time that all of this. The Earth. It was built by people who had gone through hell and back, using their bare hands, learning and advancing as they should in order to help the next generation. It had nothing to do with a quirk at all. Ren told them. Mizudafu Street's evening. In another part of the city, 2 pro-heroes watched the broadcast on one of their phones. One of them is a tall, well-built man whose body has the features of a killer whale thanks to his mutant-type quirk. He has deep white eyes that feature several rings that circle his red pupils. At times he can look extremely menacing, which is why he's ranked 3rd in heroes that look like villains. His normal hero costume consists of a white suit with a high collar. The collar reaches all the way to his chin and it is decorated with diamond shapes that are made to look like teeth. This goes with a pink tie made to look like a tongue is coming out. He also wears a killer whale-like cape over his back. His name is Kugo Sakamata, also known as Killer Whale Hero, Gang Orca. The Order 1 is a slim, muscular man who stands a bit shorter than most of his top-class heroic peers. He has gray hair shaped into 3 sharp points that cover the right side of his face and dark gray eyes, and he wears a mask over his lower face, covering his nose and mouth. His hero costume adapts the appearance of a traditional ninja. He wears a blue mask that covers his mouth, tied at the back of his head with red yarn. Shinya sports red shinobi shizoku underneath a blue robe. His arms are covered in a thin, dark cloth that tucks into his white forearm sleeves. There are red straps attached to his belt and his robe that extend outward. He has a gold mask attached to his shoulder and sports a signature red scarf that features a white patch attached to the front of it. Edgeshot finishes his costume with blue socks and yellow Zore sandals. His name is Shinya Kamihara, also known as the ninja hero, Edgeshot. Before quirks came into the world, you know how we're originally people who were called heroes? It was the police officers, firefighters, doctors, and military. They were the ones defending this country from criminals and saving the lives of the innocent. And they all did it without quirk or labels that you fakers seem to only care about. But now it seems like their profession is second-rate compared to the heroes. Ren told them. He may be a vigilante, but his words speak the truth. Edgeshot said with a serious tone. Agreed. Gang Orca said with a nod before they listened back to the broadcast. Muzutafu Street's evening. In another part of the city, a skinned girl with horns alongside two of her friends watched the broadcast on her phone. She is a medium-height girl, possibly set a little more broadly than some females, with healthy thighs. Her skin is a light shade of pink, and she has somewhat square-shaped eyes, with black sclera and light yellow irises, and notably long eyelashes below and around the sides of her eyes. Her face is framed by short hair, fluffy and unruly, which is a pink color, slightly darker than her skin's. She has two thin, pale yellow horns protruding from her head, hooked squarely and leaning diagonally to opposite sides, which seem to be slightly flexible, able to bend a bit to each side. Her name is Mina Ashido. So do not, I dare you, do not any of you say or think for a goddamn second that a quirkless person can do nothing. They are equal to people with useless or mutant quirks. Ren told them. Whoa. Mina said in awe as she was moved by what he said. Muzutafu City evening. In a taxi cab, an American family just arrived in the county not too long ago as they came to see a friend of the family. The male is a tall man of an average build, with notable wrinkles on his forehead and defined nasolabial folds and tear troughs. He has small sky blue eyes and short, unruly honey brown hair with two prominent tufts curving outwards from the top of his forehead, a short goatee on his chin, and wide-rimmed square glasses on his face. He wears a plain dark blue shirt with a single BRST pocket, the two top buttons left casually undone and the sleeve cuffs unbuttoned and rolled up to just below his elbows. He wears a pair of pale gray-blue jeans, a dark belt with a silver buckle, and navy blue sneakers with white soles, decorated with a red stripe near the toe. His name is David Shield. The female is a shapely and attractive pale-skinned young woman of slightly above average height with quite a round face. She has wavy blonde hair that reaches halfway down her back, two shorter pieces she leaves over her shoulders, side-swept bangs that frame her face, aqua blue eyes with notable upper eyelashes, some slightly longer ones extending on each side, and pronounced lower eyelashes. She normally wears a white short-sleeved dress shirt with plaid cuffs, a large bow of the same design at her neck, and a dark raspberry pink waistcoat. Accompanying these are pale gray capri pants, under which are a pair of plaid pink socks as well as a pair of heeled brown boots. She also wears a wristwatch and pink, oval-framed glasses. Her name is Melissa Shield. They were taking a taxi when the both of them saw the broadcast that the Red Buster was making on David's table. Ren. He's the Red Buster. Melissa yelled out in shock as the boy she met earlier today was a vigilante. Isn't he the same guy you told me about? David asked in concern. Yeah, the one with that robot and little girl, Melissa said before they listened to the broadcast again. There are a lot of quirkless people who are treated like SHT for something they can't even help and being told they can't be heroes just because they don't have powers. But that's a load of CRP because I know plenty of quirkless heroes who fought against the most dangerous of villains and saved a number of lives with their skills alone. Ren said, dropping a bombshell that shocked the whole nation to the core. Melissa's eyes widened, both amazed and stunned at what she saw and heard, that there are quirkless heroes. For years, when she was younger, she wanted to be a hero, just like her father and her uncle might, but when she was diagnosed as quirkless, her dream shattered. She picked herself up and pursued to continue on her dream in a new way. If she couldn't become a hero herself, then she would build the tools of heroes, their gear, and their support items, and, in doing so, she could help save lives like a hero and, maybe even, save a hero's life. And now, with the knowledge that if someone can be a hero without a quirk, and be a great one even, then why shouldn't she? A quirkless hero? David said in surprise at the information. Musudafu Street's Tetouan shopping district, evening. After the reveal of quirkless heroes, that was the sound of silence that surrounded the alley. Eyes were left widened to new proportions, disbelief and complete shock in their eyes. Their jaws were left slack-jawed almost to the point that any more would see them dislocate. Everybody watching was understandably surprised. Quirkless heroes? How could that be possible? Midoriya's brain stopped working for a moment before rebooting to process this new piece of information. He stared at Ren with a mixture of emotions. Amazement, awe, disbelief, pain, and, finally, joy. For years he was treated as lesser because he had no quirk, treated like trash, a freak, lesser than an insect by his peers for something out of his control. Ridiculed, laughed at, insulted, and bullied, over his dream to be a hero even without a quirk. And now, he finally found out that there were heroes who were truly quirkless, who fought against crazy, dangerous villains, who were seen as the best heroes of all time, who saved and protected people, all without the power of their own, only with their strength, skills, and will. Like what he wanted to be. Like how he is. Like how he hoped to one day help make. It wasn't just Midoriya, but every quirkless person in the county who heard that there are quirkless heroes in the world. It gave them something that no one has ever given them in their lives, hope. Hope that one day they can become heroes too. Meanwhile, Bakugou was left shaken to his core. For years, he had bullied Deku, tormented him, made fun of him, and led everyone they knew to mock, ridicule, and torture him over his quirklessness and his longing to be a hero without a quirk. He had even told him to take his own life so that he could get a quirk in another life. And now, with the information of this vigilante, that there were quirkless heroes. No, that can't be right. Yeah, that stupid vigilante was just pulling SHT out of his butt. There's no way in a million years that a bunch of quirkless losers can ever be heroes. Toshinori looked at the shocked crowd of people and smiled, hoping that this would be great to change people's way of thinking in this world about the quirkless being heroes. Endeavor Agency, evening. In an office, a man alongside his sidekicks was watching the broadcast on a TV. He is a tall, sturdily built man with a very muscular physique. He has short crimson hair which he wears spiked up around his head and sharp turquoise eyes. His beard and mustache appear to be made of fire, but when he voluntarily turns off the flames on his face, a small amount of stubble shows around his jaw. His hero costume is comprised of a tight, navy turquoise bodysuit with lines of flames streaming across his chest, upper torso, arms, and most prominently his shoulders. He uses his flames as a makeshift mask around his eyes, and the tall boots he wears appear to be either made of fire themselves or constantly left alight, as only their soles and laces are visible around the flames. He sports white bracers on his lower arms, styled in a cage pattern, and a blue belt with a pouch attached on either side. His name is Todoroki, also known as the Flame Hero, Endeavor. Endeavor was scowling deeply at the screen as he was watching the broadcast, with the vigilante spotting his nonsense to the public. The heroes that I know, who do and don't have any powers, are 1,000 times better than every third-string hero in this country. For one, they don't have hero licenses, aren't a thing, nor is having a license a thing. Ren told them. What does this brat know? He's just some vigilante some. Endeavor shouted in rage. Musudafu, public bar, evening. Back at the bar, everyone was listening to the broadcast with interest. They didn't have hero licenses to give them a reason to fight. They didn't get paid to help people who were in danger. Sure, they were famous and well known by the public, but that comes with the territory. They weren't heroes for our own gain, but because it was the right thing to do. Because they could do things other people couldn't and used their gifts, skills, and abilities to help others. Ren told them. That surprised Miruko and the Pussycats a little. Heroes who didn't get paid? How did they survive? Did they have jobs outside of hero work? How could they make time for both? Tabita resident evening. In an apartment building, two people were watching the video broadcast on a laptop. The male is a man with a refined appearance. He has a slicked back hairdo with a curl at the front and sports a handlebar mustache along with a well-kept, medium-sized beard. He has thick black lines around his eyes resembling eyeliner which he applied himself with a marker. His clothes are also quite extravagant, featuring a dark purple jacket with enlarged collars and coattails, a pair of loose, pinstriped pants, and 2 belts. He also wears a pair of cuffs, and purple gloves along with a woolly scarf of the same color. His name is Danjuro Tabita, also known as Gentle Criminal. The female is a very short young woman with quite a large, round head, compared to her narrow body. She has raspberry pink hair, which she wears up in 2 high pigtails, wide and thick at the top and thin at the bottom, the ends curved upwards to the sides at her waist, their edges trimmed straight. She has a single bang in the middle of her forehead, swept pointedly to her right, and very large, pointed down eyes with dark rings on the underside of each, 2 longer eyelashes to each far side, which take up most of her face. Her irises are oval-shaped, and pink in color, and each has 2 circles between their small pupils and their rims, giving them a rather hypnotic look. After spending a long time secluded in her home and staring at her computer, she developed dark circles around her eyes. Her outfit is quite elaborate, consisting of a big white bow at her neck, matching the thick gloves she wears, an indigo shirt with large buttons and long, upturned frilly sleeve cuffs, and a pair of white, pinstriped pants which are very poofy, making her legs seem bigger than they are. She sports several heart motifs, such as heart earrings, heart-shaped buckles on the 2 thin, golden belts around her waist, and a wide heart design over the tops of her legs. She also wears dark tights underneath her pants, over which she wears a pair of shiny high-heeled boots. Her name is Manami Iba, also known as La Brava. They learn about the vigilante after his fight against the muscular got more internet views than Gentle Criminal's latest video. Much to La Brava's displacement, she also showed to be angry with anyone who makes Gentle's lack of recognition go unnoticed by others. You know, since I got here, I've tried to continue my work, to help those who can't help themselves with no rewards in return. But I can't. I've been here for 2 weeks, and every single time I try to help somebody, some clown in a suit tries to arrest me for illegal heroism. What the hell is illegal heroism? You're saying being brave and putting others before yourself is illegal? That people like me should be prosecuted for doing the right thing? Ren told them, becoming angry, his voice growing louder and his face becoming red. This Red Buster truly is someone to keep an eye on. Gentle Criminal commented before laughing dryly. No wonder he outdid me when it comes to getting people's attention. You're 100 times better than some vigilante will ever be, Gentle. La Brava said to him with encouragement. You'll just have to do better. Do something that not even those Gobusters could compare to. Gentle Criminal blinked a few times before laughing happily at what his partner in crime said. You're right, La Brava. I haven't lost yet. Gentle Criminal said to her. Our next video will be spectacular to behold. He declared. Himawari resident evening. In a room, 2 friends were watching the broadcast on a TV. The male is a slim young man with smooth, short brown hair and large round brown eyes. His name is Koichi Himawari, also known as the Crawler. The female looks like a timid and shy young girl, mostly seen wearing a sifuku. Her hair, eyes, and skin are all mainly pink/magenta, with the hair being a tad messy while the eyes are normally concealed by the glare of her round glasses. Her name is Kazuho Hanayama, a freelance idol, also known as Pop Step. Both of them are well-known vigilantes and took a personal in the Red Buster after seeing his fight against Muscular. Then there's this vigilante CRP. I've seen the news. You call me things like criminal or glory seeker. Glory? Is that why you think I do this? Glory is the least of my concerns. I don't do those for attention for myself or to be famous. I do it because it's the right thing to do. Ren told them. He sounds just like me, Koichi said with a tiny smile. Yeah. Kazuho agreed. Mizutofu City evening. In the sky, a hero with giant wings was holding himself up in the air while watching the broadcast on his phone. He is a man of average height with a slim and narrow build. He himself has pointed out that his back muscles are not broad enough. He has feathery ash blonde hair swept messily backward with some of the front tufts sticking up in arcs above his head, notably thick eyelashes, and some faint stubble on his chin. His eyes are gold brown and rather triangular in shape, with two little black triangles just below his tear ducts, making his eyes somewhat resemble those of a bird. The marks around his eyes are natural since he already had them as a child. His quirk grants him a set of large bright red wings with feathers that gradually lengthen the further down they go. He wears a black shirt with a wavy golden pattern like a ripple in a pond, over which he has a tan jacket with a high collar, the insides and cuffs of the sleeves lined with white fur, and black gloves. He has a red square-shaped lobe piercing in each ear, although these are rarely visible as he usually wears a pair of yellow headphones over them. His headphones most likely have protection purposes, since the velocities in which he moves are capable of damaging eardrums beyond repair. A rounded, yellow-tinted visor protects his eyes, presumably from UV radiation above the clouds and dirt particles at high speed. His jacket is specially modified, with two large slits over his shoulder blades to accommodate his wings. His costume resembles an aviator's uniform. His name is Kigo Takami, also known as Wing Hero, Hawks. Let me ask you something. Say there was a bridge collapsing. No heroes are around and people are stuck on the bridge. Now imagine there's a civilian with a speed ability or flying powers. They could easily save everybody on that bridge and get themselves out safely. But why would they? What would the point be if they would be arrested for using their powers illegally? Arrested for being heroes, I should say. Ren told them. Hawk stiffened at those words, as he did something similar as a kid which made him into the person that he is today. Mizutofu City evening. On a random rooftop, a masked man watched the broadcast on his phone with interest as he was a supporter of the Red Buster after his fight against Muscular. He is a towering, heavily muscled man. He has short dark hair and visibly thick eyebrows and also possesses heavy stubble and a prominent scar running diagonally down his left cheek. His costume consists of a simple wraparound black mask tied over the top of his head, a tight-fitting dark shirt, jeans, boots, and a long hunter green trench coat. On his hands, he wears a pair of dark gloves topped with a pair of brass knuckles, or knuckle dusters, from which he derives his name. His name is Iwao Aguro, is the vigilante known as Knuckle Duster. What's a hero to you people anyway? Someone like All Might, who has one of those licenses to tell him what's right. Is it really that much of a big deal that you have to arrest me for helping those who can't protect themselves? Ren told them. That's right, kid. Fight the power. Knuckle Duster shouted in full support. Mizutofu Street's Tetsuin Shopping District evening. Heroes? Villains? Vigilantes? Come on, grow the hell up already. Ren told them in a pissed tone. Shoji resident evening. In a room, a large boy was watching the broadcast on his phone. He is a tall, muscular young man with pale gray hair swept forwards, covering most of his face, and bent downwards at almost a right angle over his eye. He has 6 arms, all attached to each other by a web of skin, which are very physically strong, and while his quirk is not in use only the front 2 arms have hands, the rest ending in thin stumps. He has a slightly elongated face, his eyes set more towards the sides, and he is always kept hidden by a blue mask, which covers him from just below his eyes to the base of his neck. His name is Mizo Shoji. Are you saying in order to help someone in trouble, you have to meet specific qualifications? Ren told them. He continues to watch the video in silence. Kirishima resident evening. In his room, a young man with black hair and sharp teeth watched the broadcast on his computer. He is a muscular young man of average height and a rather impressive physique for his young age. He has red eyes that are pointed slightly inward and a small scar just above his right eye, which Horikoshi admits he frequently forgets to draw. He also has small eyebrows and pointed teeth. His hair was black and left in its natural state, just under shoulder length with some shorter bangs between his eyes. His name is Eijiro Kirishima. If someone in front of you is crying for life and you wish they weren't. Ren told them. Hearing this made Kirishima's eyes widen in shock as he remembers the incident that happened a few days ago with his schoolmates being attacked by a villain. He was going to do something about it until he froze in fear, and it was Mina who managed to help them in the end. Listening to this made me relive his failure as he balled up his fist in frustration with a painful look on his face. Damn it! How can I call myself a man after that? Kirishima cried out as he needed to do better to improve himself. Away's resident evening. A black-haired boy was watching the broadcast in his room on the TV. He is a boy with long black hair, spiked upwards and backward to his left, and rounded gray eyes, tilted inwards. He wears a wide, zigzag patterned headband around his forehead, pulled down quite low, to keep his hair out of his eyes. His name is Yosetsu Aways. He was watching the video with widened eyes from the speaker. Or if someone is struggling to hold on and needs help, but doesn't have the strength to ask. Ren told them. Jairu resident evening. In a living room, a family was watching the broadcast in amazement. One of them is a petite, fair-skinned girl with a slender build. She has triangular, lazy-looking onyx eyes with notably long lower eyelashes and rather small eyebrows. Her hair is short, only around chin length, and is dark purple in color with an asymmetrical fringe, and 2 reflections shaped like heartbeat monitor waves on either side of her head. Her most prominent features are the flexible, plug-like earphone jacks hanging from each of her earlobes at the end of 2 thin cords. Her name is Kyoka Jairu. The other one is a slender woman who wears glasses with black frames. Her hair is straight, short, and dark purple in color, with bangs that fall to the right side of her face. In every instance where she has made an appearance thus far, she is shown wearing a collared shell top, a pencil skirt, and tights. Like her daughter, she has plug-like earlobes. Her name is Mika Jairu. The last one has wavy shoulder-length light gold hair and triangular eyes like his daughter's. His name is Kyotoku Jairu. Isn't that more than enough of a reason to help? The laws be damned. Ren told them. Wow, those guy is pretty hardcore, Jairu commented as she kept watching. Even her 2 parents couldn't deny their daughter's comment about the vigilante. Muzutafu Street's Tetsuin Shopping District, evening. What more do you people need to step up? Do you want special permission or some kind of license? It's not skin off your nose to try and help. If they're that important, then what's stopping you? Ren shouted as everyone listening was both moved and stunned by this. The Gobuster took a few deep breaths before calming himself down again and speaking once more. I have one more question to ask, and it is for every pro-hero in the country, Ren said to them. Upon saying that, every hero in the country paid attitude to what he was going to ask them. If the government were to no longer pay you for your services as heroes, would you still continue to rescue people and stop criminals? Ren asked every hero in Japan. No one said anything as they hesitated to answer the question. What if the government stopped paying them for their services? Will they still continue on as heroes? Oh, of course. Kamui Woods spooked up in confidence. But if we don't get paid, then you're no heroes, and most likely never will be, Ren stated in a blunt tone. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 4. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author GokuMuto on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.